Good evening and welcome to a news summary. We begin with the latest developments in the Gaza Strip. 11 Palestinians were killed, including 5 children, in an Israeli raid on a residential tower in Gaza City. Earlier, 4 people were killed and 70 wounded when an Israeli tank shell slammed into the 3rd floor of Al-Aqsa hospital. The Israeli military had no immediate comment. Non-stop attacks lifted the Palestinian death toll to 518, including almost 100 children, since fighting started on July the 8th. Israel said 7 Israeli soldiers were killed during clashes with Palestinian fighters, lifting the army death toll to 25. Defying a UN Security Council appeal for an immediate ceasefire, Israeli jets, tanks and artillery continued to pound the Gaza Strip, killing 28 members of a single family near the enclave's southern border with Egypt. The Islamist group Hamas and its allies fired multiple missiles across southern and central Israel, and heavy fighting was reported in the north and east of Gaza. Hamas Deputy Chief Ismail Haniyeh demanded an end to Israeli aggression and blockade of the Strip, and Palestine Liberation Organization official Yasser Abdrabbo said U.S. role was not to justify massacres in Gaza.
Government of the extremists and the government of apartheid and genocide. We consider that this is not the role of the United States of America, not to protect or justify the massacre of Gaza and the continuation of this massacre, because the United States know very well who had driven the negotiations towards total failure.
U.S. President Barack Obama said the world must focus on a ceasefire in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict to put an end to the rising number of civilian casualties. Obama repeated that Israel had the right to defend itself against onslaughts from Hamas fighters, but said he had serious concerns about the growing number of civilian deaths resulting from the conflict.
That we have serious concerns about the rising number of Palestinian civilian deaths and the loss of Israeli lives. And that is why it now has to be our focus and the focus of the international community to bring about a ceasefire that ends the fighting and that can stop the deaths of innocent civilians.
Egypt might be willing to amend its truce initiative to end the fighting in Gaza in order to accommodate the Palestinian group Hamas, which had rejected its terms. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon met with Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry for talks on the crisis in Gaza. During his visit to Cairo, part of the UN chief's wide tour of the Middle East, Ban was expected to hold talks with a number of senior Egyptian officials trying to secure a ceasefire. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry also arrived in Cairo for talks on ways to halt the fighting between Israel and the Islamist group of Hamas in Gaza. While Washington went along with Sunday's Security Council statement, it has so far defended Israeli actions and refrained from pressuring Netanyahu publicly to stop. In Iraq, 10 people were killed, including a mother and 3 children, in a government airstrike on a militant-controlled town north of the capital, Baghdad. The attack targeted the town of Hawija, which is controlled by militants from the Islamic State and other groups opposed to Iraq's Shiite-led government. Further north, the Islamic State has been consolidating its control, driving Christians out of the city of Mosul with a weekend ultimatum. The Islamic State today took over St. Behnam Monastery near Mosul, ordering a monk and his assistant to leave. Shiite militia also seized 22 men from a village in Diyala province near the town of Baquba, where they believed Sunni insurgents were operating. At least 7 people were killed and 40 wounded when Islamist militants attacked an army base in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi, triggering fierce clashes involving helicopters and jets. The violence followed a week of fighting between rival militias for control of Tripoli International Airport in the capital that has prompted the country to appeal for international help to stop Libya becoming a failed state. The airport area is under the control of former fighters from the western town of Zintan, who have held it since the fall of Tripoli in 2011. And finally, a look at the weather forecast. It'll be fair tonight in most regions with the appearance of low clouds and northwesterly fresh winds. A slight rise in temperatures is forecast tomorrow, creating relatively hot conditions across the hill areas and a high of 31 degrees in Amman. Hotter conditions are expected in the Gulf of Aqaba and the Jordan Valley, with highs there hovering around the high 30s. And with this, we come to the end of this brief edition of the news. My name's Raad Btoush. Thanks for watching.